to like all of the audience who came here like to learn something new, and also I think like I would be also able to learn something new from you as well. So like just feel free to jump into like as much as questions as you want like in the Q&A section. So okay, so I'll just start with a bit of introduction with me. So let me just quickly share my screen. Right. So can you see my screen? I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Right. So, as you already know, so my name is Procheta, and I'm working as a full-time UX designer in business engineering in Vancouver, Canada. And before that, I did my master's in human-computer interaction from Canada, and also I did my bachelor in computer science and engineering. I know, like sounds like a tricky for like you guys like okay so I did a like an engineering degree and like then I'm a designer, so it's like kind of like a story, but like that's I'm definitely gonna share like in later if you want to know. So but just in short, like so I always loved designing from my childhood, but my parents wanted me to be a doctor, but I sat on to both like medical and engineering exams, but luckily, I didn't got like a good position in the medical exam, but unluckily, I got a mid position in engineering exam, and they like just admitted me into like computer science. So that's why I started computer science, and then for my masters, like when I was like trying to find like how can I get rid of this computer science, like I don't want to be a developer, like I like development programming, okay, that's okay, like I learned this, but what I really like, I love to do like some design, like where it's more like digital design, that kind of stuff that always like attracted me. So that's why I just found this like the ACA course, like that's all like kind of relevant to like a new opportunity to learn about the designs and like the computer and the digital design, that kind of stuff. So that's why I did my master's in ACI, and then like finally like I got my like the job as a designer. So that's how kind of my story in short, to be like from being an engineering student to a designer. And you can like if you want to like connect with me like for future, like get in touch or like know about me or any other like question or anything, you can also like connect with me. So there's my Linktree account. From there you can find all of my social link, my LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and all of my links. So I'll also like share that in the chats in later as well, so by chance if you missed this one, so there's no worries. And so like and there's so now let's just talk about like more of, since this is more about like the UX design learning, so let's just like talk more about UX design. So before we like actually like jump into like start doing some like the UI design or like making some cool and fancy design, I want to like take a step back and like do some analysis and research, because this is what actually like UX design is. So it's not just like okay so I have a very cool idea, for example like okay I want to make like a spaceship app, so I just sat on my laptop and just start doing some all those designs, or like copied like 5 different features or app from 5 different apps and just made a new app. So it's not basically UX design is. So in UX design, it's more about the playing with or understanding the human psychology, and then less being design. And why less being design? Because it's not less design, it's actually a lot of design. But why I'm calling it less? Because once you understand the psychology, do all those research and like the analysis and everything, then you see like that designs, it becomes like so simple and it becomes like a tiny fraction of your whole project. So that's why I'm calling it, so it's become like a less of a design. And that's where like so they're like kind of some kind of like interactive questions that I always like to share with anyone like who is curious about use design, because this is what basically our just to like this is also the same thing, just playing with our own psychology, that how is our thought, how is our perspective about design as well. And if we don't understand our own psychology, then like it's obvious, like if we can't like analyze ourselves, then how can we be possibly analyze someone else's psychology, right? So we need to start practicing by from ourselves, and then you'll see like okay, so it becomes like so easy and so interesting to also like try to understand and explore someone else's psychology also, like to figure out like what do they want or what do their viewpoint of some objects or on some designs. So the first thing, let's just like play this like the psychology game. So this is like okay, so do you love to think about how things around you could be improved? These questions is like the very like fundamentals of analysis, because so just think it around like this way, like so for example like we all use like the Google Maps, right? So whenever you see like, or you're using a Google Map, you see like, oh, I really needed like this feature. Like for example, okay, so I wish like I could see where my friend is from the Google Map also, but the Google Map doesn't have it. So if there's any situation like this where you really want some features of any product or like of anything, but that feature, your anticipated feature or product, that doesn't exist yet. So in that situation, what do you do? Do you just like completely okay, so no, I'm not gonna use Google Map anymore, I'll find something new? Or do you just think that okay, so okay, it doesn't matter, like it doesn't have this cool feature that I want, but let's think like how I can also like integrate my own feature, or how can I improve this existing one so that it meets my need. So if you are willing to just like think like you can like just quickly like give some emoji or like hands up in the chat, then you can also like do that so we know like how many of you are interested, or like you can also write in the chat. But yeah, then we can just decide it in the Q&A. Or okay, so now let's move to the next one. So like, do you love drawing or taking photos? And like, do you like visual like graphics arts more than anything? And these two questions is like mainly it's just like basically like if you want to love UX design, it's more like a creative work rather than being like something okay, so where you are just given like 100 rules and you just need to follow those, like you do not need to like do something by your own creativity or by your own analysis. It's not just something like that, it's more like just playing your own psychology also into a design. So and that's why these are like kind of like a more of kind of like a something aligned to that, like taking photos, drawing, graphics, all work. It also like comes from someone's passion and hobby where you want to like represent your own creativity. And then like do you love reading, writing, or research oriented work? So if you're someone who love like research oriented work, then you're definitely gonna love like UX design, because as I already mentioned, there's a lot of research and everything onto that, and also you need to like continuously like do your readings to learn new things, and also like write a lot of like the documentation processing and everything for your UX design projects. And then like, are you a data and analysis genius? Like it's just more like yeah, so if you know how to do all of those research or analysis, or if you have to do like all of those user research or analysis to understand the requirements of people, you also need to be able to like analyze those to find out the gist from that requirement. So that's why if you don't really like the analysis of this kind of part, then it also might get boring, or you may not feel that much interesting this part of UX design. So these are all mainly like just to like layer into psychology and define like how are you gonna fit into UX design. And obviously, so these are not the end of the world. So if you don't like any of these but still you want to like start UX design course or anything, that's totally fine. Like everyone has their own viewpoint, own perspective and everything. So that's totally fine. If you don't like any of this, still you could be a UX designer, still you could learn UX design. So just think it as more like a fun playing game of psychology or analysis. That's it. So once we so this are so now I'd like to like go to like the actual like the design work like that I'm gonna show you like on Figma. So if you like want to do start your UX design process or UX design project, how you can start that. So before I move into, let's just say like, do you have like any questions or anything of these questions? Just feel free to leave in the chat, or otherwise like I can just move directly to the project design. Okay, so I guess like I can just directly move and just leave the time for you, like, and then I can see the chat later. Cause yeah, it's just kind of tough to switch between like two screen. So see, so let's just like move. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna go to my Figma file. So those who don't know which tools I'm using, so this is the Figma, and this is one of the design tools that is like pretty popular right now, and in most of the like big companies they use this, and even if like in our company we also use this one. I have also like shared the link of this design tools in the chat as well, and it's pretty like very quick and easy to set up. Like if you want, then you can also like download right away, or you don't need to download, like it's just like a web browser, so you can just quickly like log in, create an account, or like open your Figma, then you can also like start designing with me. All right, so let's just see. So since I have my Figma projects open, so let's just think about like some kind of like a app or anything. For example, just think about like a login screen. Okay, so if you want to like design a login screen for any of those projects, so what do you need to do? So and basically, okay, so we'll just like create a frame, okay, and we just like write our text, like for example, like sign up here, and then we will just make, so there's a one options that will be for like the email input, and definitely we need one for like the password input, right? And then we do definitely need a button. For example, let's just say like sign in here and just like login. So we need a button. So that's mainly, so that's the one thing like you can do like when you're start doing any design. But there is like something like very interesting here. So like once you're designed, so you're seeing, so as I say, okay, so how I can change my text, like okay, so I'm gonna make it medium, and I'm gonna make it like for example like 24, and I will make it like for example like 80. All right, and my button, I'd like to make it like 28. All right, so how do you feel about this now? So yeah, it's good. Like, yeah, so in a sign screen, what do we need? So we need email input. Okay, so we also need for the email input, like we need a box where people can type in their name and also like the password. All right, so and there goes our login. This is like the regular standard, like the login screen that we all know. So, and then next thing that comes into that, how can we make it like more appropriate like process into like UX design? So yeah, you can see like okay, so it's quite simple. Like to design login screen is yeah, anyone can make a login screen, but the thought behind this you need to put in. There comes a UX design process. For instance, so like for the very first thing, you need to think about like who is this login screen for? Like who are gonna use this login features? And how are they gonna use that? Are they gonna use that for mobile or are they gonna use that for web? So there are this kind of like questions you need to first think about before you directly jump into like make a screen and you're all done. Okay, tada, I'm done making a login feature. And that's called the research. So like before making this prototype, you need to like do all of those like so let me just write it down. So like for example the first test goes like the research, and there you'll just do the research about everything that is like related to the product. Like so who is the user gonna be of this product or features, how are they gonna be use that, and in which platform they will use your product or use your features, and what is their requirement, do they have any special requirement for this product or feature. So there are this kind of like common questions that you need to think about before just jumping into making that UI. So then, and there, like once you have done doing your research, so then you just start thinking about like, okay, so once you got all of these like user research, and then what is the next step? The next step is to do all of those like analysis. So, and in there, what you're gonna do in the analysis part, and you are gonna do like so what was the outcome of the research, like what is the answer you got from all of your research questions, and then like and there's also like one good options to do like the analysis and research in something middle, that is like the competitive analysis. And there what you do, you just basically look into the internet and just like see like what are the other login features of all different types of apps or website. For example, if you're making a login page for an iPhone app, so just check into the internet, so how are all these different types of app are making their login page, and then compare between those designs and then find out the pros and cons of each of those. Like okay, so and it's way more better if you can just like actually like download those app and just use it by yourself, just to see like if you're comfortable of using those app login screen. Then just the measuring criteria should be like, if so are you comfortable of using that login feature? Okay, so if you're comfortable, then just keep it as an inspiration, and whatever things you're not comfortable using, so the other users, they're also a human like us, so possibly they're also not gonna be comfortable of using that. So just take some inspiration from there, and then there comes like once you got some inspirations, then there comes this like the ideation. So once I got all of these like my inspiration, my analysis, then now I'm gonna do the ideation. Like how am I gonna create this login page? What are the options do I need from my side to implement this? And from these steps, basically the design like the design work start. And in here and here research analysis, you see like there's almost like zero design. just all about like you need to like more and more understand like the users, the product, the market, and everything. And in ideation, so the one step like possibly could be that you first like figure out that okay, so now I know my user or my company or any like so okay, so they want a login page, and the login page that should have the ability to give them the options to input their email or phone number and their password, and then they can log in. So how am I gonna create that design in like in Figma or any other design tools? Now it's your time to think about that. So how am I gonna do that design? So I know like it's now it seems like it's kind of like tricky because at first it seems like okay, so that is like so quick and easy, like I'll just create a login page. But now once you have like all of this information from all of those people, and also now it's your time to think about that how you can implement that. So and in there's a kind of like a common pattern for designing something for good user experience that is called having the consistency. So and there comes three like so it's basically like so for me what I do like as like in any of my design like in general. So in the edition phase, I just like follow these like three rules. That is one, this designs it should be like very clear to everyone, and the consistency like there should be a consistency of my design. So this consistency means like the visual consistency and also like the usability consistency of using my design. And then it should be also like user friendly and also like very relatable, so that my user doesn't need to like learn something new, or they don't need like a very new train up to use my product. It should be as much relatable to them that like just by seeing this my design they know how to use that. So these are the three main like my general like rules that I usually follow when I start doing designs, but definitely there are some kind of exceptions like depending on the projects and the work. So let's just see. So once we have like so this beside these three rules, now let's just see like how I can implement this login page. So let us start like typing from one by one that okay, so at first like what are the things I need. So for my so I need like one, so that is like okay, so I guess I should make it regular, that is makes more sense. So I need like email options like the email input. Then two, what I need password input options, right? Okay, password input options. And then third, I so once someone like done inputting or filling out the email and password, what should do? So there should be a button, right? So button to log in. So there should be a button that will help them to log in from that page. So now I know, okay, so I need an email input, password input, and button to log in. And also so like so now I have like the broader idea of this, and then for each of these options now I'll make more sub options. For instance, like if somebody wants to do an email option input, so what are the things I do need? First thing I need, like I have to have like a title, right, for this. And then I need input field, and Same goes for my password, right? So I need to have a title and input. So now I can see, okay, so now I got the idea. So whatever steps we need. But there's one thing we also forgot, and that is like, what if someone forgot their password? What can I do for you? And what if someone forgot their email? Then, on that case, what can they do? So, we also need to think about all the possible options that user may encounter while using my design. So it's basically, yeah, so definitely. So then obviously I need a forgot password option, and also like email recovery options for my user. So and now like when you see like, okay, so now you have like all of those like requirements from like you have like a pretty much idea. Okay, so now I think like I have covered all of the requirements from the research or analysis. Then now how can I start designing into a design tool? So now it's time to do like the ideation, and it's time to start designing. And in the designing, so okay, so now I know I need all of these to be implemented in my design. So for this, what are the things I need like when I want to design? So I need some text to write all of these. So that's all I need. So I need some text element. And next, what I need for my input field, I need some colors, right? Obviously, we need some colors because I want also, I need something like for to highlight my button as well. So the text and colors. So these are two like the main things that we need to design this into our interface. So now, okay, so now let's just see like how we can start like designing. So since we basically like have an initial idea of this, so let's just think this will need, okay, so we're gonna design like a iPhone login page or a mobile login page. So I'm using Figma. So what I'm doing, so there is a like option like the frame. I'm going to the frame, and then from there you'll see there's a lot of options like the fonts. There's a lots of like the frame size for phone, tablet, desktop, presentation, and watch like for everything. So and from there I'm gonna choose like, for example, like the latest one, like the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Alright, so and then okay, so now I have this whole new blank screen as my canvas, and there I will do my design. And if I just like take this like just as a comparison, so what was our design before and now how are we gonna design now? So it's basically, so what are the things we need? We need the email input password and button login. Let's just add like the, I'm just like dragging. Okay, so I can also like write again. So like the same things like email and also password, and I need a login button, like, and yeah, definitely you need like, and also we need a title like that, title of the page that like shows to my users that what is this page is about. So login to your account, something like this. So and now if I just make them a little bit more like regular. Okay, so now we have this, but there is the things, it's just call about like the, so now we need to think about the consistency that I talked about, like a consistency, how we can bring that to this design, that by setting up some fixed styles for my design. For example, like for the email, so these are email and password, these two are the title for my input field or for my elements. So I'm gonna make sure that these two have the same kind of visual appearance, the same kind of text fonts and everything. So, and that's why we need to create some styles. And how we can do that? So just select this and just select, okay, so I'm gonna using a medium and I'll use like a 24 for this. And then there's an option like if you just click on here, you'll see like the style, and from there just add like the create a style, these options, and this will give you the option to create this as a style that you can use all over your design. So I'm gonna using writing this as my label, for example. So this is the label for my email input, or like either way, like, so I can also like do this, for example, in here. So as I go to the text style, I will see there's already this, so this level. So and then I will add that. So both of them remain same, and whenever I will add like a more level to my design, I will use the same things. And then for the buttons, I will be using like a different style to make it like differentiate between the levels. So I'm also gonna use, for example, like same the 24, and I need to like use it as like a bold, and then I will add it as my bottom. And this is my page title, and since still I will just use this as like a medium, and I will just create this as my style as my page title. So if you see, there's already, so these three styles has been created: level, button, and page title. And then there are my email, password, and my login. Now the only thing remaining is to in design my this input this field too. So what I'm gonna do, I'm also gonna like copy this and duplicate this, and I'm gonna write, so in the email, so it's really important to like give a hint to my users that, like, for example, type your email here. And then in the Figma, there's a very cool thing that you can add. So I can add like auto layout, and how it will change, as you'll see. So if I just increase that, that will just remove the size. And I'm gonna add like, for example, 20 in both sides, or maybe like more like 30 in both sides. So it's just like adding padding to both of my sides, and the top and bottom padding is 18 and 18. And why is auto layout? Because it's really helpful to make a consistency between the spacing. And then I'm gonna add like a, I will add like a stroke, and I'll make it like rounded 4. And from the strokes, so for example, let's see, like I'll just select like green color. And so this is a placeholder text. I will just write it like a very like, okay. So now I have my this like input field. And then I need one input field for my password. But if I just like, for example, like just just copy it, but otherwise like if I have like more and more, then it's really becoming tough to like copy paste. So that's why just for the same like the text, we also need something for like the text color. For example, like, so I'm just like adding this over here, and like, what if I just make it as like the pink color? But this is like, so for the input field, this is like the real like the red and pink color. This always gives you the vibe and illusion of something like a negative or error. So, and that's why we need to use neutral color whenever we are wanting to take some kind of user actions from our users. That is called something related to black or gray, like or anything. That's the default neutral color. And since there I already use like a blue color, so I think we can also like change it to like the gray. And the same as for the text, we'll also make it as a standard color style just by creating this. So, and I'll just write it like input border. So how I did that, like once again, I'll show it. So the same goes for the text color. What would be the text color? So if you see the color, and there'll be also again the same options like the style, like the four dot. Click on there and just write it. So this is a placeholder. So I'll write the name like the placeholder text. And if I see that, you'll see the color style has been created in here. And so from there I can easily choose, okay, so what colors do I want my input border color, and for the text I want the placeholder text. So now everything will remain consistent. And also there's a one huge benefit of using this style, because for example, if I change this color from here, so you can see the same color is changing all over the places where I'm using the same styles. So there's no way I can break the consistency of my design if I just follow like the standard style or for my text and my input color. So now there it goes for the login, and the same thing I will do for the login. I'll also put it in an auto layout, and I will just increase the padding between these two, like less, maybe the more, so it looks like a real button. And the same, and then for the login button, I will just use like the color. I'll use something like blue to fill. So in my fill color, I'll use something blue color. And I also like make it rounded 4. And just to note like the why I'm using 4, because there's all the places. So if you're using like so rounded corner for all of your element, then you should be able to continue that throughout all of your design. But if you do not want a rounded corner, if you just want like a straight corner, then you can also go for this. But combining between like one is rounded and one is a straight corner, that also breaks that consistency of your design and the identity. So just try to follow the one single pattern for everything. And now I can also like add the color, like so which color do I want like white color. And the same for that, you can also like create a style for that, like the button text for this. And for this color, I'm also like making this like the button color. So now we have like pretty much like as standard settings of my login account. And like it's up to you, so like I can also like increase that. So I'm not just like using like any one color for now. Like now you already know how you can, if you also like add some more like the background color inside that, you can also like use that like to give some background color. So it's up to you. Just but just for now I'm just trying to like make it like white. So where is my white? Okay, so I'm just adding like a simple color. And so if you do not like, for example, like for this background, I use like the button text style. If you do not want to use that in Figma, so there's, if you click on that, you'll see like the detach style option. Just click on that. That will detach the styles. Now you have the options. You can just modify it like manually by yourself. So that's up to you. And so like once I have like all of those basic designs, so now it's time to ensure the layout of all of my content, that if it's going to be, if it's all like in proper place. So there's one thing like you could do. So just select all of those, and from there you'll test different option like how, like in which alignments you want to follow from here. But there is like, and also, so but what I would do and I would recommend, like before I do that, so all the times all of you like the body content, just make it left aligned because it's easy readable for the audience. And once you make so, and also like group the similar content, and right click on that, group selection. So I'll group all of my similar content like all together, and so that I can make so some good spacings. And then if you select all, then it gives me like more features, like the more flexibility to adjust the spacing between that. And and also like beside that, there's like a very important thing, that is the, like the layout grid. Like once after designing everything, just to like make sure if everything is like in the proper place, just add a layout grid. From there, click on that, and from there, in the grid, select column. And for the mobile, we usually follow like 8-point grid systems, mobile devices, and let's see like the count 2 and the gutter space. So what is like this count 8? That is means that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are the columns, and the gutter, that means like the wide space between these two columns. That's called like this gutter space. But if I increase this, then you see that it increased. But 20 is the standard gutter space between the columns. So I'll just keep that and make sure the type is stress, because if I make it left aligned, that will be left. No, I want it to be the layout to my whole screen as to make it responsive. And then once I have that, then I need to like see, okay, so if all of my contents are in the proper place or not. So I want my, so that's my email and password. So okay, so I want it to be start from the second column and to end on this column. Okay, so now I have so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 column. And for this, so if you see something like this, just you can just quickly fix that from there. And then like from my login account, okay, so I want to make it center align for my screen. So there it goes. And for my login button, I also want to make it like center align to the screen, but I want it so this like this. So there's also like another concept over here that we need to follow. Like while we're just making the giving the space between the contents, they're going to think about like the design principle that's called like the grouping content. So and that's the same thing I followed over here. That I grouped the similar type of contents all together and just gave the same amount of space between these two so that it seems like they are all together. And so after this, like which content or like which element comes within this, that will help me within this group to use this group of content. And that's the login one. And that's why I'll also make it like more closer to this. So the basic rule for this is to, like, for example, like to create my, so, and these two, if I just make this as a group, and then I have this whole group, so how much space I'm giving between these two? For example, I'm giving like 16 between these two. Those are two similar content. And then what is the next similar content? When I'll give space to them, I'll just increase it by 16. And if I add like 16, the next like 24. Okay, so why I gave it 24 is because it's the common standard for increment of like the spacing is, so we need to like increment like by 8. So for example, like if you give like 8, so for example, if I have given like 8 between these two, like the common content similar grouping, and then the next grouping I have to use like plus 8 between of these two, so that is like plus 8, that will go 16. So that will help us to follow the hierarchy of our visual readings. And for this, so since login to account, this is not relevant to any of these. And since this all together, we can also make it as a group. And for these two, so in there, just think about like the more like the A ways. So what is called like 8, 16, like 24, 32, probably 32, 64. So let's just say like 64. That's pretty much or like 32. And then just group like all them together, and there it goes. But I can also increase that to 64. So for the title and between the content, the spacing, you just need to like rely a bit more about your like the visual intuition. Like, so it's just like not always the same rule will happen, that it will always like increment by 8 and 8. Sometimes it's just also between our observation, like, and all the visual pleasing or like aesthetically pleasing, if it's look like good, or if I see it's good, then just like you need to adjust that in this way. But in later the rest of the stuff, like we can do it with by taking feedback from others as well. So once I'm done, I'll just like hide my column just to see, okay, so now everything looks good and in perfect in like all of this placing and everything. So, and this is like really like a simple and quick, so I have like overlooked a lot of like the thoughts, a lot of like rules and principles like between this, and also like it's not looking so much fancy because if you know like the basic principles and rules, then you can also like play with the colors and play more with the text to make it look fancy. It's just all of like building the fundamentals that I was like talking about. So, and from there we can see like, so for a UX design, so we can just design a login page within 5 minutes. But if we really want to make it more user friendly and like go to like a user oriented design, then just to make a simple login page, how much effort we had to put in and how much thought we need to put in. So that just one thing like I try to like present today or show you, so that you just at least have an idea, so how you can also like start with designing like that is more related to its design. Now let's just see, like if you have any questions, just feel free to ask me so I can answer your questions in here. And also, yeah, sure, I'm also gonna put my link in the chat as well. don't hesitate to ask me any questions. I'm always like curious and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions if you have any.
I have.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of. I always have this confusion, like when people. I work with designers, but I do have like I always had this question of what is UI designer, what is UX designer. Is it the same or what is it?
Uh, Let me just
Or
so
just the titles that change? That's
yeah, so it's basically okay. So I am already so okay. So you can think about like these two my these two designs. So the right designs that I
Mhm.
showed at first. So that's basically more aligned to the UI designers. So the UI designers, so they don't need to think about like and for my left design, I already showed so that I have used like an 1 hour to show you like how much thoughts and effort we need to put in before just to make one single login page. So that are the whole like the workflow for the UX designers. But if you're just a UI designer, then you need to worry about all of those like the previous workflow that I talked about today. All you just need to care about, you'll just start designing just like my right side design. I just like start with a blank canvas. I just like designs. So that's the only thing you need to do. You don't need to think about all of those previous resets analysis and everything because they'll be teachers or UX designers, so they'll be doing that, and based on that you will just like make those designs like fancy and cool. So that's the only thing you need to like care about.
so. Is this Figma a free tool or do we have to pay for this?
Oh, it's totally like free for like personal uses, like, but if you want to use like for your organization, like if you want to add like more person to you or share with someone, only that time you need to pay.
Okay, okay. Because I we use XD, so it's all shared with in my team. The designers send in the XD links for us, so I just look at the XD.
Yeah, and it's Figma is basically the same thing. Like
Yeah,
just the only
yeah.
plus point of Figma that we use that it runs on the browser. So even if someone doesn't have like a high performance computer, so but in XD it takes up like so much. It needs so much high performance, the that kind of the fancy computer. So but in Figma, if it's run on just a Google Chrome or browser application, so you can like anyone can use it. Like so that's the only like plus point of Figma.
Yeah, I have tried to use not this one, but something called as balsamic. Um,
Yeah.
that's something that was free. I had to quickly mock up something for a project, so I have done this. But Figma I've never tried. But
Yeah,
it looks like it's got a lot of features and do we have to okay if you are a UX UI designer, right? You have to pick one tool and master it as well?
Uh, it's not like that. It's just like all about so as like a learner or as like a student, like when, for example, when I'm a learner, I'm a student. So it's like so it's just all up to you like how much you want to explore. Either you can just like see like so you just start with Adobe XD. Now you kind of like it, so but you don't want to like try out any other tools, you're happy with that, that's also fine. But if you think no, I want to try different tools and see like which one works better and which one gives me more options to work more productively, you can also like do that. But by the end of the day, like when you join a company, whatever the tool company is using, you have to do that.
True,
Like
true, true.
it could be like they don't use like the Figma or XD or anything, they use like some whole new thing. So
Hmm.
you have to go there and learn that tool. But it's like a good luck. So if they already use like the Figma or any of the tool that you're already been using, that's a plus point.
Hmm.
But it may not happen. Like in most cases it seems like you have to like learn something new, like to use whatever the tools they're using. So it's tool just to like practice like designing. So to it's just like you can think about like a editor, like the code editor, you need an editor to write the code. If you know coding, then you can do it in any editor.
Yeah, yeah, I totally understand. It's something that I deal with UX designers all the time, and they come and say, I ask them, hey, why is this thing like this? And they say, oh, no, our user study said that, that's based on user study. I have no idea how do they do user studies, but I have to go with it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's basically like, so that's what we're talking about, like the research
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the thing,
I
like the
did
very
hear that.
so
There's a
the
lot
user
of
study.
process.
Yeah, so it's mainly because at the end of the day, we need to sell our product to the users. So whatever they want, we need to make them happy. It doesn't matter. Like if I sometimes it may happen. Okay, I don't even like my own design, but the user want it. So you have to follow that. But within that, like it's just like you need to like put it your thought as much as you can within that kind of constraint. It's just like that.
Yeah. I think we are about time. And Diego, and I don't know how to say his name, but then thank you so much for joining. And please do post if you have any questions, because yeah, yeah. Diego is saying I really like the idea of creating designs, but I'm also interested in development side of things, front end thing. Are there any? Oh yeah, I like this question, Diego, because I'm in that boat. It's mostly, I think, UI developer. I think UI engineer or something that comes into my mind. What do you think of it, Procheta?
So there is actually a role. It's just like newly introduced in the industry from last year. I have been seeing there's a role called UX engineer. So UX engineer, so it's basically like the combination of both UX designer, UI designer, and also like a front end designer. So you have to be able to like make it, for example, like you have to be able to make a prototype in Figma or any of those tools, and then you have to be able to implement those in the code also. So you'll be doing all these designs, you'll be doing all those like the research also, and you'll be also the person who will be implementing those by the code. So it's just a complete package.
So it's called as UX engineer, Diego, if that makes it clear for you. But thank you so much. I didn't know this.
Yeah, it's just like really like new like roles, and I'm just like, okay, so that must be some kind of like the superhuman, like who does all of this.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I think every part has its own niche by itself, but if you club it together, it's a lot of work.
Yes, definitely. Like,
Okay, this is recorded and this would be added into the GDG San Jose YouTube channel. I'm going to be sharing my screen here. Let me see if I can do that. Entire screen, allow. So, sorry guys, this is something that you can go ahead, and it will also be posted after this event. If you go here and see in the past events, it's going to show you as what are, if you click on this link, the YouTube video will be there as well. So we also have upcoming events, one on Android, one on IoT. So please do join us in the future. And I hope you enjoyed this talk. Prachita, really, I did not know anything about UI. And I did not know that there's a lot that goes into it. I feel like, every time I ask my designers, I do bug them, but I learned a lot today. Thank you so much.
yeah,
Thanks so
like
much.
I'm glad that at least like I'm able to like give something like to like at least like
I think
someone.
somebody has, yeah, thank you so much. And please do connect with Procheta. You can also join us at GDG San Jose. Thank you. See you
Yeah,
in the next
thank you,
event.
Deepan. See
Bye.
you. Thank you, Deepan.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye. Thank you so much, Procheta.